Today's topic is going to be a little interesting. I know it's not related to food or anything, but it's definitely an extremely vital part of our existence. And that is one part is overcoming anxiety. Okay, anxiety, stress are things that are becoming so common in our life. And is there a way to actually, is there a simple way to overcome anxiety? So stay on and we'll discuss this. Okay, what is anxiety? And there are a lot of terms for it and all of that, but it all stems from fear. Now, fear necessarily is not by itself not a bad thing at all. Fear helps us stay away from things that could harm us. For example, if it's a big fire, you're not going to jump into it. You get scared of it, you move back. The fear may be intense, it may not be intense. Maybe you see a ferocious animal, then probably the fear is a lot more, and you move away and you try to seek protection. So, fear is a defense mechanism so that you don't harm yourself. But that component added with something else causes anxiety. And what is that added component? Is having a fear of a future outcome which is could be uncertain. Okay, could be anything. Maybe uh you've probably, let's say somebody's gone to the doctor and he's done his tests. You're very critical. Let's see what the tests are. And the tests take about 5-6 hours to come back. And what happens, you suddenly start thinking, oh dear, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if I have to go to get into the hospital? What if I've So these things are an uncertain outcome. Maybe you've invested your money in the stock market, took a very risky one, and you said somebody comes and tells you, oh, that company is going to close. And you're wondering, oh, will I get my money back, or will it, can I? So what happens is fear plus you're thinking of an uncertain outcome. You don't know what's going to happen, creates this thing called anxiety. Okay. Yeah, it is something that you create yourself. Okay. Not to say that it's not real. Anxiety is real for a lot of people. Now, there are conditions in which you actually exist, and one is imbalance. And when you're in balance, you're calm, you're collected, you're very peaceful, you're blissful, you're full of joy. Okay. And your mind tends to slow down. Okay. And that's how you're in kind of a blissful mode. Now, when you're out of balance, you're typically terrified, you're uncertain. You start playing safe. You say, oh no, I won't do that. It's too risky. You stop. Or on the other side, on the flip side, you start taking some crazy risks. Okay. You start doing things you shouldn't or not predictable. So when you're out of balance, what happens is you start taking actions, you start doing things which are probably not conducive for you. They may lead to even bigger problems. Okay. And so this is the contention between imbalance and out of balance. And anxiety is one situation where you can easily get out of balance. Now, a lot of people think, okay, now if I'm in this extremely full of anxiety at this moment, I'm expecting something to happen, and I don't know whether maybe it's a kid who's actually looking for their high school marks and their final exam, and then they don't know the results are about to come out and they're uncertain. What if I get below so and so mark? I may not be able to do this. So all those things start roaming in your mind. And so what people do is they finally accept, okay, I've got this anxiety. Can I think my way out of it? No, can I think, okay, why is this happening to me? Okay, this is happening because, I'm not sure my marks are going to come. And you know what happens is when you're actually thinking more about the anxiety. Okay. And when you're thinking about this, it starts to bring out more emotions, more feelings start to come out. And guess what? These feelings start to branch out into other thoughts. Okay. Now, to take the example of somebody who's waiting for their final exam results, and they think, okay, what if okay, I'm feeling anxious. They agree. I'm feeling anxious because if I get below 60%, I'm not going to get into engineering. I'm not going to. I can't even. I wanted to become. My parents want to become a doctor. There's no chance I can do this. Oh, what happens if I don't pass? Maybe I'll fail. So what happens is a lot of multiple thoughts start coming in, and these multiple thoughts, uh, You just try to understand why you're anxious. You try to justify why you're anxious. You're not actually addressing the problem. You're not getting out of it. You're only amplifying that particular thought by giving it some excuses and some rationalization. And this is kind of a what we've learned. I'm sorry, this is what all of us do. We are all victims of this, and we try to say, okay, we've got anxiety, and we try to justify why we're feeling anxious. But we're not getting to the root cause of the problem. Okay, that's the tough part. So how do we normally deal with anxiety? Okay, now what we do is sometimes in extremely anxietous situations, what we do is we repress this anxiety entire. We just say, no, it never happened. You just close your eyes. Sometimes your mind even blocks it. You just have kind of a memory loss of that entire situation. So it embeds itself in your unconscious mind. And the problem is that it lay right underneath, underneath you for many years, maybe decades. And one day it might just open its ugly horns up again, and it'll send itself out. Okay. So that's a totally unconscious situation. You've just kind of ignored it. You've just decided you don't want to get into it, and you just your mind is blocked to it, and that's kind of a total repression. Okay. Now the other thing is suppressing it. Okay, suppressing it is say, okay, it's happened. I'll think about it later. I don't want to think about it now. Let me go and play a video game, or let me go and watch a movie, or let me go and play some game or something, or let me go for a long drive. You're just taking your mind away from it, which is what we call suppression. You're just distracting your mind. You're not looking at the particular problem. You're just saying, I don't want to think about it right now. I want to delay this thinking. It's called a suppression. And if you keep suppressing it, and you're able to do it in a master, we're all masters of suppression, and we continue to do that, it moves itself back into repression. So it goes into the unconscious mind. And so we keep burying these things in our head, and they will explode sometime or the other. It will just start coming out, because when we have a similar situation, somehow this repressed memory might just wake up and say, oh, something like this happened earlier. And now you have a double complexity of anxiety, because you're remembering the current one, and you're remembering something that happened ages ago. Okay, so that's what suppression can do. The other thing that is a little better is what you call expression. Now, when you say expression, is when you're in anxiety, what you do is you probably take something in your hand, you smash it on the ground, or you start screaming at somebody, or you start walking, pacing up and down you start doing some crazy actions. And these expressions is slightly because you're giving a voice to that feeling. You're giving a voice to your anxiety, which is good. But unfortunately, it is just another kind of a distraction. It is actually just venting. And venting, while it's a little better than the previous two, which is repression and suppression, it is definitely not something that is going to solve the problem at all. But what it's going to do is going to help you kind of get a release, so that you're probably not so pent up. And expressions can take many ways. Some people take an extreme step and take their own life. This can be an expression. Sometimes people take the extreme step, and that's a very dangerous form of the expression. Sometimes you take an angry form of the expression. Sometimes you take a very sad, melancholic. Sometimes you just lock yourself in a room and avoid everyone. So this is a kind of a way a lot of us normally deal with, very, very high anxiety situations. Okay. Now, what is a better way to deal with it? Okay. Now, this is kind of interesting. Uh, you have to surrender to it. Now, I'll give you an example of what I mean by surrender. Now, let's say you're taking a hammer and you're hitting a nail against the wall or something. And what happens is it slips. Oh, you hit your thumb. Okay. And it's paining a bit. Now, what you can do is you can either start screaming at the hammer, or you can blame somebody else for it, or you can just look at your finger and just feel the pain. Okay, my finger is hurt, I feel the pain. And what happens is, when you feel that pain, what happens, it's not going to be there forever. It start to subside. And if you realize that, this happens a couple of times, if you just concentrate on that, just feel that feeling, you're surrendering. Oh, I'm hurt. and waiting for it to subside, actually it subsides a lot faster. So surrendering to the situation is what really helps you get out of it a lot faster, because you're giving it its life. So anxiety has a life, it has a lifespan. And when you give it attention and listen to it, it will live its life out, and it will not have that much of intensity. Just like the example I gave you, when you hurt your finger with a hammer, or if you bump your foot into, or you hit your toe into a chair, instead of running away and screaming, or just absorb that pain, because it may be a small injury, but just absorbing that helps it subside. And I have tried this a lot of times, especially when I get these small nicks and cuts and things like that, or I do a lot of handiwork. And sometimes what happens is the wrong thing happens. I just wait for the pain to subside, and I give it its good thought, and actually subside pretty quickly. Now, have we trained ourselves not to surrender? You know what? We've actually trained ourselves not to be in the surrender mode. And why we have done that is because we have formed a kind of an addiction. Okay. And this addiction actually comes from our belief system. And a lot of our belief system starts from our early childhood. And for a lot of people, they say, oh, for you to become very successful, you have to do a lot of hard work, you have to struggle, you have to fight, like as you're fighting some invisible demon or something. So this is our belief. We have been brought up this way. And a lot of the stories that we hear is all, oh, it's hard, it's difficult, it's tough, it's difficult. So what happens is you get addicted to saying, if I have to do something that's good, I have to struggle. So the same thing happens when you're in a moment that's anxiety, this invisible force or this demon starts to come up, and immediately your mind says, okay, I have to struggle. And we don't like to struggle. Okay. Definitely, we don't like to struggle. So that's why your, suppression, repression, and expression starts to come out. So we'll ask ourselves, what is the pattern? Is there a pattern to all this? So the pattern is, for this particular thing, as we call uh, kind of an addiction to anxiety, there is always a trigger point. And the trigger point could be anything uh, that brings out certain amount of anxiety. Okay. Some trigger point. It could be, maybe you got some fancy bill which came out of nowhere, came from the blue, and you say, oh, I owe so much of money, what happened? Or it could be you suddenly see your stock suddenly tanking down to the bottom. Your mutual fund has become like 1 rupee or something, and you just get flabbergasted and you say, oh my god, I was depending on this. And so it's a trigger point. And the next thing is, you take action. What's the first action you do? You start to get worried. Unfortunately, that when this kind of a trigger point comes, the first thing is to worry. Okay. Now, when we worry, what we do is we get so anxious, that we try to do something else. We'll say, let's go and eat ice cream, or let me go shopping. A lot of people just do this binge shopping or binge eating or binge drinking is a distraction. Okay. You're just trying to distract yourself by giving yourself a reward, something that makes you feel good. And when something makes you feel good, the dopamine goes up. Okay. So yeah, the dopamine goes up, is that good happy feeling, the euphoric feeling comes back, because you're just battling what we call a worry. Nothing has really happened. It's yet to happen, but it's uncertain. And that uncertainty, you're just trying to balance it out by saying, okay, I'll just give myself a reward for now. And you know whenever you do this, something goes down, you give yourself a reward, it becomes an addiction. This is kind of classically, I mean, any kind of addiction that you look at, it is always a question of some trigger point happening, some worry happening, and then you say, okay, I'm just going to reward myself. And what happens, you get addicted to it. And you say, anytime I'm in a high anxiety position, okay, I'll eat like 30 sandwiches, or I'll go and buy some 20 clothes, or I'll just, you do something like this, and it's a reward kind of thing, because you want to feel happy, because you're trying to suppress what we call the bad feeling of anxiety. So this becomes a pattern, and it keeps reinforcing itself. And as we get older, we start to become experts at this. Okay, we become masters and experts at this, and it just becomes like, yeah, it's a cool, yeah, we just do this. Hey, oh, my car caught on fire, it was stolen. Okay, no problem. Let me just go and have some ice creams. Okay, so yeah, when I mean, if you look at what you do for yourself, it may seem very serious. But if you look at somebody else, and let's say his car got stolen, he says, "Okay, I'm going to eat 3 biryanis." You think, oh, this guy's really, is something wrong with him or what? So your reaction to your anxiety is actually funny to somebody else, and vice versa. So, what are the consequences of this kind of addiction that we bring into our life? What happens is we start to curtail a lot of things. We start to play it safe. We stop dreaming. We stop following things, that ambitions and goals that we wanted to do. We just say, no, just it's not going to happen. And we become extremely conservative. And the things we could do probably 20 years ago, and you might have been extremely successful at a lot of things, but as you get more trained and more good at this, what happens is you find a lot more things that you cannot do. So we become extremely conservative, and we play it extremely safe. We don't live to our potentials, and we don't chase our dreams. And that's the consequence of this. And that's uh, from where to where anxiety and what is really causing us is actually it's a big gap in our life. So now you'd ask yourself, okay, now I know that this is not a good thing to have, and how do I get out of it? Yeah, it's a good question, right? We all want to know the answers. So what I call is the 3 steps to surrender. Yeah, it's just 3 steps. Okay. The first thing you have to do is, at the moment when you feel that there's this certain crisis that is causing you this anxiety, accept it. Just say it has happened. You can't make it go away. It has happened. Okay. You accept it. And the moment you'll say, okay, now I have to worry. Now that worry starts to come up, nothing you can do about it. It's going to come up. But that worry, if it's so intense, you feel like it's a knot in your tummy. You feel that. Okay. So it's very much like NLP here. What you do is you breathe. You take a deep breath for about 3 to 5 seconds and try to find that knot, that kind of where that worry is living, somewhere in your tummy, right? Okay. And breathe that worry out. Try to feel that you're taking that knot and taking it. Now do it about 5 to 10 times. Just breathing. Okay. No big deal. You don't have to do much. You just have to breathe. A little concentration and kind of get that out. Okay. You will start, when you do that, at least what will happen is your anxiety will start to shrink a little bit. Okay. And accept the situation. Okay. This has happened. This is it. Breathe in, breathe out. Very slowly. Try to slow yourself down. And then after you've done that, maybe it might take a minute or two, do a pattern shift. Now, what is this pattern shift? Now, the problem is we might be doing like 90 things that are great in the day, but one thing might have gone wrong, and we only focus on that one wrong thing. Okay. So, what you want to do is to start saying, what do you have? What did I achieve so far? What do I have right now? Start to bring some gratitude in for what you did during the day, during the month, even in your life. What have you achieved? First, acknowledge that. Say, okay, I'm grateful. Okay, I know. For example, let's say my car got stolen, but hey, I got another car too. I can take the bus, I can take the cab. I've got a great home. It's safe, no problem. I didn't meet with an accident. Start thinking about what you have. And when you start to do that, you start to build this thing which is called a little bit of gratitude. And you then accept, okay, this is just, I've got what's wrong if I lose just one tiny piece of something when I have so much of it? Is it really, like, let's say I have, you know, 300 apples lying on my table, and one rolls off and falls off the floor and goes out of your building and it gets smashed. Would you be worried about it? No, you won't. It says one apple. I've got another 299 left. So that's the way you've got to look at it. That's the first thing you do. This is the only way you can really battle anxiety. And once you've done that, the next thing you have to say is, what do you want? Okay. What do I want? Now let's take the stolen car, for example. You'd say, what do you want? I want my car back, or maybe I want a brand new car. I don't like that car. Good, it got stolen. Maybe I want a better one. Okay. Or maybe the car is not even important. It's a distraction. I actually, what I want to do is I want to take a flight and I want to go and close a business deal. So start focusing on things of what you want and where things that you want and the action you should take to get what you want. Because if this is just a distraction, it's not anything. It's a big deal in your life. Yeah, some things might be anxious, but if you don't have it, say I lost my car, is the world going to end? It won't, right? So just think, what do I want? I want a new car. Do that. So, like I said again, the first thing you have to do is surrender to it. Just accept that it has happened. Take a few deep breaths, concentrate on where that feeling, that emotion is erupting from, and try to breathe it out. Okay, especially try to breathe it out because it's a technique that will get your mind and body involved. And then start to move your mind and say, hey, okay, I lost one thing. This one thing happened, but there are 99 or maybe 1,000 things that I'm really grateful for, and I have. Had I lost that, would have been a different thing. It can be as good as saying I have two hands and two legs. You know, it, you might have just, you might have just, screeched out of a bad accident, but you're intact, and you can't be feeling, your anxiety. Oh my God, what about my luggage? What about my laptop that was there in the vehicle? It's all gone. I mean, don't be worried about that because So I'm just giving you crude examples of what you can do. So just remember to do that. Focus on some gratitude to what you have, and then focus your mind on what you want. Exactly, precisely what you want. Okay. Don't be ambiguous about it. Try to put numbers, try to put figures at it. So, I want 10 cars. I want two Rolls Royce. I mean, keep doing these things. I hope that you'll be the next time you actually come across something else, try this exercise. Uh, and the first thing to do is surrender. And once you do that, I think the rest of the other two steps you'd easily remember to do. So easier said than done. But all I'm saying is give life to that problem, give life to that anxiety, and then let it live its life out. And this is one way of getting to this. So for those of you who have been here, thanks a lot. And the last laugh goes to the people who follow the dynamic vitality model. So if you have any suggestions or comments about what you just saw, do let me know. And you can always, comment or write me an email or contact me anyhow you want, or even, type below in the comments if you'd like to. So thank you very much and have a wonderful week ahead.